Hi guys. So when I say the name Relisha Rudd, I don't really expect too many people to know who this little girl is, which is sad because in 2014 this little girl disappeared and it only sparked interest in Washington, which is really bizarre to me because this literally stretched the country. But it only got media attention in Washington for whatever reason. Now, I do want to point out from the very start that the FBI has issued a $25,000 reward for information leading to the resolution of this case. So, Relisha Rudd is 8 years old, and she is living in a homeless shelter with her mother, Shamika Young, her grandmother, Melissa Young, and her two older brothers. And so this family comes from a very troubled history from the start. So I just kind of want to run down the list here and let you all understand who each person is. So this grandmother, Melissa Young, she gave her children up for foster care at a very young age, stating that their father was very abusive and that she was tired of being beaten. She didn't want her children beat on anymore. There is a second report on this who says that she claimed the same things. However, she herself had a bad drug addiction and that she really just wanted to focus more on that. And so she felt like if she didn't have these children weighing her down, then she could get more out of her addiction. Either way, I say she made the right choice. She knew that her children were in a bad situation and she was getting them out of there the only way that she knew how. So I think she made the right choice here. Now, while Shamika Young is in foster care, she starts exhibiting some really bizarre behaviors, and they say, listen, let's get her checked out. Let's see if there's anything that's causing this. So when they check her out, they determine that she is very mildly mentally ill. So there is two reports here. One says she was institutionalized one time. The other one says it was twice. We don't know. However, they did determine that she was capable of making big decisions and that she should be fine on her own. So they released her out into the world. Now, I do not know if Melissa got custody of her children back at some point or if her and Shamika just kind of met up after Shamika was of age. But somehow these two came back together. Now, Shamika ends up getting married very young. And she is married to Relisha's father. And they have two boys together, but they also have two daughters. Now, Relisha's baby sister, when she was 19 months old, sadly passed away. And her father was put in prison for 2 years for involuntary manslaughter. So I want to point out first and foremost that involuntary manslaughter does not mean that there was malicious intent. It actually means the opposite. It just means that he made bad choices and that they felt like if he had not done things a certain way, then she would still be here. So they held him responsible for the death, even though he didn't purposefully commit this crime. Okay? So he's in prison for 2 years. And while this is going on, Shamika just can't take care of her family. There's just no way. So they all end up in this homeless shelter together. Now, while they're in this homeless shelter, Relisha meets a little 7-year-old girl. Relisha's 8, and they just hit it off and they start playing daily. Well, eventually they make a new friend, and this new friend they're very excited about. And it turns out that he is a man in his 40s, a convicted felon by the name of Khalil Tatum. Now, it's unclear if the mother knew that he was a convicted felon at the time. However, she was very supportive of this friendship. She thought this was great that he was so close to her daughter. And she started calling him Relisha's goddaddy. Now, this other little girl, 3 years after Relisha's disappearance, steps forward and she says, he was very good to us, and he would give us anything that we wanted. He gave us tablets, blankets, candy, money. It didn't matter. And then one day he asked me if I wanted to come to his house and play with him and his wife. Thank God this little girl said, I have to talk to my daddy. And she went straight to her dad, and her dad went to Tatum, and he said no. I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with this. You know, I think it's great that you're so nice to these kids, but no, I'm not comfortable with that. And he says that he thanks God till this day that that was the choice that he made because they didn't see any bad in Tatum. They just didn't really find it appropriate, you know, normal, however you want to say it, that he was taking on this type of relationship with two little kids. However, Shamika, like I said, was very for this. She thought this was a great thing. So she allows Relisha to take off with this man over and over and over. Okay, she lets her go out to eat. She lets her go to his house. It didn't matter. He could do whatever he wanted to. I don't know any parents out there that would allow a man, a full-grown man, to take off with their child like that, especially a little girl. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. And you have to know that she should have at least had more sense than to do this. However, this is what happened. Now, she claimed that her and her mother were both in agreement that this was a great thing and that he should have full access to Relisha. The grandmother says, no, that is not what I said. I told her that this was inappropriate, this was unnatural, and that there is no way that she should be letting this full-grown man take off with her 8-year-old daughter. And that Shamika had jumped onto her mother and said, this is my child, and I will do anything with her that I want to, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. If I say she goes, then she goes. And the grandmother said she just felt like her hands was tied with this. Like, what was she supposed to do? So anytime that Shamika said, yes, she's going with Tatum, the grandmother just let it happen because she didn't know what else to do. It's not her child. Now, we go on to March 1st. On March 1st, and I am going to point out that there's video surveillance of them, of Relisha leaving the homeless shelter. But on March 1st, she does not come into school that day. And it just so happens that this happens to be her 5th unexcused absence. So the school contacts the mother, like protocol, and says, listen, this is her 5th unexcused. We need to see something. You know, you're going to have to get us an excuse or we're going to have to turn this over to social services. And the mother says, no, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Relisha has been having really bad migraines and she is being treated by Dr. Tatum here and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so she just said Dr. Tatum. Tatum is the janitor. We already know this. But the school doesn't. So they say, oh, okay, you know, sorry that she's sick and, you know, we hope she gets better. So they contact social services anyways because that's just what they have to do. And so a man, Mr. Workman that works at social services, he receives the call and he says, absolutely, I'll take care of this. So he contacts the mother and he says, we have to get these doctors' excuses now or I have to turn this over to the state. And the mother says, no, don't turn it over to the state. She's just being treated by Dr. Tatum and she'll be back to school really soon and we can get you those doctor's excuses. He says, no, I need them now. She says, okay, well, here's his number. Now, I want to stop right here and point out that if this is him that they are actually speaking to, why would Tatum use his real name? Why? Why in the world would he put his real name out there and say, absolutely, I've got her. Yeah, buddy, I've got her. That makes absolutely zero sense. The only way that that would occur is if he thought for 100% that there is no way this little girl was going to be reported missing. However, I kind of feel like it was Shamika's way of averting the attention from her and saying, well, he's got her, you know, he said he's a doctor. However, we already know that she knows better. So, she does give that name, though. And they call somebody. And now, whether they was actually talking to Tatum or not, I don't know. But he says, yes, I'm Dr. Tatum. I am treating her for neurological issues because of these migraines. And we're trying to get down to the root of it and figure out what the issue really is. And when she's done, I'll get you the excuses. And he says, no, I need them now. And he says, okay, I'll get them to you by this weekend. No worries. So the man's in good faith, hangs up. The weekend comes and goes, and there's still no excuses. So he calls Tatum again, and he says, listen, it's being turned over to the state if you cannot produce these doctor's excuses. And Tatum says, oh, you know what it is the other days that she was absent, she was with me also. I was treating her. Okay, now put a pin in that. She was with him all of the days that she was absent. That was unexcused. if you'll just get me a list of all of those dates and fax it to me, I'll get it filled out and I'll get it faxed back to you. It's no big deal. I've just been really busy. And so Mr. Workman didn't really have any reason to believe that this is not a legitimate doctor that he's talking to. And so he agrees to this. Now, I want to take one more pause and point out, Shamika and Tatum had to have had contact. There is no way that both of these people would have had the same exact story that she is being treated by Dr. Tatum if they were not in contact, unless it's not actually Tatum that they are speaking to. I don't know, but that point right there really bothers me. Now, he tries to fax this paper over to Tatum, and this fax number does not work. So he tries to call Tatum straight back, and Tatum won't answer. So he contacts Shamika, and he says, Shamika, I can't get a hold of Dr. Tatum. I have to get these excuses, and that fax number doesn't work. And she says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll get a hold of his staff here, and I'll get the message through to him that the fax number was wrong, and we'll get it taken care of. And he says, okay, but this has got to be done quickly, or I have to turn this over. No, don't turn it over. Don't turn it over. She's with a doctor being treated. So he says, okay, he's, like I said, he's trying to be in good faith here. And so we fast forward to the 17th, okay? March 17th, 2014, Shamika has been missing for 17 days as of now. Now, a lot happened on this day. On the 17th, we go from Washington to Maryland, clear across the map. And Tatum's wife has been found in a hotel room, deceased. And they have proof that he is the one responsible for this, but they don't know why. Okay? Now, also on the 17th, Mr. Workman wakes up and he said he just had this bad gut feeling, and he said, nope, this is it. I'm done playing these games. So he goes to his supervisor and he says, I want to go to this shelter and I want to see if I can get him to fill out this paper. And she says, go get it. So he leaves, he goes to the shelter. He starts asking around, is there a Dr. Tatum here? Everybody that he talks to says, no, we don't have a Dr. Tatum here. So finally it occurs to him to ask somebody, is there anybody by the name of Tatum that works here? And they say, oh yeah, Khalil Tatum, the janitor. And that's when alarm bells goes off. And he gets to Shamika and he says, I'm turning this over to the state right now. And she's like, no, she's with Dr. Tatum. And he says, no, there is no Dr. Tatum. I know Dr. Tatum is really the janitor. So I'm turning this over. And she is furious. Well, during this time, she claims to either get a call or a text from her mother saying, I am on my way back from Dr. Tatum's with Relisha and we're on our way to the homeless shelter. See you soon. And he says, then produce the child. You've got X amount of time to produce her. And if I don't see her, then I'm turning this over. Well, she never steps forward. They never find the little girl. So we go, I want to just take one step backwards here on the 17th and remind people that we don't know how long his wife was in this hotel room before she was found, because if he would have paid up for a couple of days, it could have bought him some time. So, okay, let's get back to Washington. On the 19th, report starts coming in. And they get a report that he has bought 42-gallon garbage bags. Now, a lot of people look at that as being very malicious due to the circumstances of this case. However, I mean, I'm not making any assumptions here. There could have been a different excuse for this. So then he gets, they get reports that he is at this aquatic park in Washington. So they go to this aquatic park, they're searching around, and they're finding nothing. So they start looking through buildings, sheds, and that's when they find Mr. Tatum deceased of a self-inflicted wound. So there is no talking to Tatum now, and Relisha's not there. And sadly, that's where this story ends. Nobody has any idea what happened to Relisha Rudd. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few of my theories here. For one, Shamika, she was either talking to Tatum or she had somebody impersonating Tatum, because they shared that same story, and you're not going to have that same story otherwise. Now, Shamika claims, I never said anything about a Dr. Tatum, even though it's on the police reports and all of the social services documents from the first to the not 17th or 19th. It's all reported. She says, no, I never said that. I said that I dropped her off with my mother on the 1st, and I never seen her again. I didn't even know he had her. Now, her mother has taken a lie detector test, and she has passed, and she has been very forthcoming and open with officers and very cooperative, so it leads me to believe her more than Shamika. Now, everybody has reported the same story on Shamika. However, like I said, she takes that back and says, I never said any of that. Number 2, why did Tatum go to Maryland? Now, there's a lot of people out there that's going to say, well, he was trying to get away because he knew he was in trouble. He knew he was going to prison. Okay, think about this for just a second. He goes to Maryland and he murders his wife. And instead of fleeing to another state, he goes straight back to Washington? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't add up. Okay, my theory is maybe there was some kind of black market deal going on for Relisha. Maybe this was a black market adoption. Maybe this was trafficking. I don't know. But I feel like he was going to Maryland for a purpose. Okay, he went to Maryland to meet somebody or to complete some sort of mission with this child. Okay, he had his wife with him to help him with this child. They get to Maryland. Now, the question is, well, why did he harm his wife? Okay, I'm thinking, what if she had left and she walked in on him doing something to Relisha? And this sparked a fight, and it was a heat of the moment kind of thing. Or what if after everything was said and done, the wife was like backing out and like, I'm just gonna turn this all in. This isn't right. Something happened major for him to do this to his wife. Now, Shamika's never been found. You've got states from Maryland all the way back to Washington. Why did he go back to Washington? Maybe he was taking the money back to Shamika. Maybe they had some sort of arrangement and he was getting it back to Shamika before he just realized, I'm in a mess now. They already know who I am. And that's another thing. It makes me feel like if he headed back to Washington, that he wasn't even aware that the police knew that he was involved. However, like I said, video surveillance shows him taking Relisha out of the building. And that was the last sighting that was ever made of Relisha. But this is where the story ends. You know, keep your eyes open. This could be anybody. They've got age-progressed drawings of her. However, neither one of them even looks similar to the other, so it makes you wonder. I say look at the child's, you know, her younger pictures and really study on that face because she could literally be anywhere. Shamika, the one thing that she has been intent on this entire time is that this child is alive. She says that Tatum did not harm this child, that she is alive, and that she is just doing fine. She is somewhere and she is alive. So I really believe that she sold this baby. That is my belief, and I'm not going to change my belief on it. I believe that she sold this baby, or at least she thinks she did. Okay? So keep your eyes open. Look for this baby. Get this story out there, for God's sake. This baby deserves justice somewhere. She has had absolutely zero media coverage whatsoever throughout the years. She's gotten very, very few reports done on her, and it's just not right. This child needs to be found. So, and like I said, there's a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to the resolution. So keep your eyes open and let's find this baby.